One of the issues that comes up in a mentoring relationship is how open you can be with each other, how far your trust can go. And a lot of people feel that a promise of confidentiality is key to any mentoring relationship. What do you think about that?
Well, I think part of it is what you're keeping confidential. I think as lawyers, we're trained and become comfortable with the idea of dealing with other people's secrets all the time. That's built into our education. It's what we do. So I think if we're talking about other people's information, certainly clients and things like that, we're bound by the rules of professional conduct. There is no exception in the rules that say, you can do that except for if you're a mentor. And so I think we want to be really careful about that to make sure we're within those rules. And those are on a case-by-case basis in terms of, is my mentor within my firm? Is it someone in the same litigation group? Do they have a reason to know that information, as opposed to maybe someone who's in a completely different firm or a different state or things like that. So I think mostly we have to be careful about that. Now, when I'm starting to talk about my own information, or my mentor's information, or my mentee's information, I think that's where really being transparent and being explicit really goes a long ways. Coming in the door, if as a mentee I'm really nervous about that, then I should be really clear with my mentor that I'm really nervous about that, and I want what we talk about to stay between us. I think that should be the presumption, quite frankly, between the group, that whatever is talked about is going to stay between those two. And as a mentor, I've always tried to be very careful when I'm working with a mentee to say, is it okay if I share this with this person for this purpose? I don't think. I think different mentoring pairs have different degrees of expectation about what that is, and I think the problem becomes when we're not on the same page more so than anything else. If you and I have a long-term mentoring relationship, I trust you, I'm probably going to be a lot more fluid with my information with you, and I'm also going to be a lot more forgiving if it goes from you to someone else. If we're brand new, or there's reason that there's been contention, then I'm going to be a lot tighter about that. But I think being clear, I think the problem comes when you think it's a loose relationship and I think it's a tight relationship, and we haven't talked about it.
Well, that's also why it's important at the beginning of a formal relationship, in a program, for example, if there's a mentoring plan or a mentoring agreement, there's usually a term that says what we talk about will remain confidential between us. And while I agree with you, there should be a presumption of confidentiality, my advice would be presume nothing before you divulge anything to somebody that's highly personal or highly sensitive to you. You want to make sure that that person recognizes you expect it to stay confidential. What about a power differential? Or if you're in the same organization or you're in a firm and I'm an associate and it's very hard in a law firm, certainly, for us to be two reporting levels apart. In a corporate program, that would be required, that that the mentee is not in the direct line of supervision by the mentor. It's very hard to do that in a law firm. And so if you're a partner in the firm, or even a senior associate, and I'm fairly junior, and I tell you that the client I'm working on, I'm really nervous about, I messed something up, I fixed it, but I don't think the client likes me, and so I'm having all this angst over my career, my relationship, and you've got an interest in it because it's your client or it's the firm's client. Can I talk to you about that without your looking at me askance from now on and saying, is this person really up, to maintaining my trust in terms of their ability?
I think that depends on the mentor, right? I mean, I don't want to give the evasive answer of it depends to everything, but it depends. I think there are certainly some folks who I would trust to set those things aside, and be able to say, okay, you're learning, You're learning, and you're going to keep learning, and every time you learn, that gives you more value to our firm, and so you're learning. But I think reality is it's like, the directive in court to a jury to disregard a piece of evidence, right? Forget what you just heard. That's, twice as likely that you're going to remember it. And I think as a mentee, I have to walk that line with my mentor, and I have to be realistic. If I come in and I tell you that I've blown it with a key client in the firm, I can't expect to say, but that's confidential, so don't do anything about it. I mean, that's an unfair expectation on the mentor. And likewise, from the mentor's perspective, if every little thing you tell me as a mentee becomes a big deal and it goes up the chain and it goes to your supervisor and whatever, I mean, it's not shocking that I'm just going to stop telling you things. So for me, I think there has to be a degree of pragmatism to that analysis. And it also just reinforces the need for trust, and that trust is built over time. I can't come in and say, well, we're going to have a trusting relationship, so tell me everything. No one does that, So it has to evolve over time, and I think that's where I would say, you have to weigh that out. And I have to weigh that out when I'm sharing information. I also have to weigh that out to a certain degree as a mentor when I'm hearing information to sometimes, I think, give the warning of, I just want to be clear that if you give me this information, I have a duty to the firm.